if you've been running for a while and you're still not getting faster, or you were getting faster and it seems like you hit a plateau, hit a wall, I want to talk about some things that may be going on. And this comes from personal experience and also people I've talked to that have experienced the same thing. For a while, I was doing a running streak. I had 933 days of running at least 2 miles a day. And there were many days that were much, much more than that. I ran a couple 100-mile races while the streak was going on. I ran marathons. And so I never really truly had a day off. And I felt great the first 2-ish years. And then towards the end of the streak, I definitely started to feel major fatigue. And I don't think it was only the running, it was lifting weights, it was not sleeping a whole lot. I had a hard time sleeping for a long time anyway, so there was just a lot of contributing factors. But I knew it was bad when I hit this point where I would be sleeping for like 15 hours on the weekends, on Saturday and Sunday, and I needed naps throughout the week. And I, like 2 miles at a 10-minute mile pace felt like hard. Like mentally it was tough. It felt like my body wasn't accepting it. And so I knew it was a big problem, and so I took some time off. With this time off, I reflected a lot on why maybe I was experiencing that, and obviously I didn't have any off days. And so that brings me to my first point. I have a couple points on hitting plateaus. The first thing is you may not be recovering, and you might just be so far on the hole that you're going to have to take some extra time off. And this doesn't necessarily mean that you're running 7 days a week all throughout the year. You might be running 3-4 days a week, but you're not sleeping well enough. You're not eating enough, which is my second point, but I want to come to that. But basically, the idea of you're not recovering. I don't fully believe in overtraining. Like, yes, that can be a real thing. It's just more of I don't think we're so much overtraining as we are under recovering, and so that means not getting our body what it needs to recover, not sleeping well enough. Like, I know if I run in the evening, it's really hard to get deep sleep for me, so I choose to run in the morning. So, yeah, there's a lot of different factors, but the point being is you might need to do some things to help yourself recover so then you can build on to more fitness. That could mean massage, it could mean sleep, that could mean eating enough, it could be stretching. I mean, some people like ice baths or the sauna. And so the first thing is you might not be recovering, and you need to spend more time on trying to recover. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to stop training per se. For me, I had to in my situation, but maybe you're just kind of hitting this wall and you just have to keep doing your training, but you have to do the right things to recover properly. Now, I already mentioned the second point, which is eating enough. And think about it, at least for me, my watch says I burn roughly 100 calories per mile. So let's say that's true. I don't know how accurate that is, but let's just go off those numbers. If I do a 10-mile run, I burn 1,000 calories. And if I'm trying to run throughout the week and train throughout the week and do yoga and strength train and have energy to go throughout my day, I'm not using running to lose weight. Some people do that, and that's great. You should. For runners who are okay with whatever their weight is or not trying to lose weight, I don't think they necessarily want to lose weight. I don't want to lose weight. And so if I am in that deficit because of my running, I'm not going to have the energy to do the things that I need. And so I'm realizing how under-fueled I am, not necessarily in my runs because I can run and I'll be fine in my runs now. It's just the next day or after my run when I have to go to work, that's what I'm behind on. And so when you're fueling, it's not actually necessarily, is that a voice crack? I'm going to have to see how that sounded because it felt like a voice crack. So I'm not necessarily trying to fuel this run. I'm trying to be able to support myself throughout the whole week in all of my training. And so I'm realizing how underfueled I am, not on my runs, but throughout like the week, right? Because I'll eat enough before my run, but I'm not really, I feel like catching up or eating enough to make sure I have energy and carbs and protein I need for the rest of my day, for my work day or hanging out with family or my yoga session in the evening. So I'm just realizing more and more I have to eat more, and I hope maybe that's something that you need to do too, is you just really have to make sure you're eating enough, because sometimes I forget or skip meals, and I really shouldn't do that, especially since I'm burning so many calories anyways. So the other thing I wanted to mention is you may not take an off season, or you might not have a week off, and that could be contributing. This goes to the point of like recovering, but sometimes the mental burnout is a lot, and it's not necessarily you physically can't handle it, but you've just been so focused on a race, and then you jump straight into training for another race. I have no problem with that if you feel good. This video is about escaping burnout and being able to continue to get faster. And so if you're hitting that plateau, you might benefit from a period of time off and then come back swinging, just so mentally you can get after it again. But ultimately, besides those 3 points, ultimately one of the reasons why you may not be getting faster is you're not running fast. And it's silly to say this out loud, but it is a real thing where I hear from people, they're like, "Oh, I'm not getting faster," and it's like, "Well, are you running fast?" And they'll be like, "Well, I run the pace I always do," and it's like, well, if you're trying to get faster, you have to experience running faster for your body to adapt. And so I think one of the biggest mistakes people make with training, if they're trying to get fast, is they run the whole run at 8-minute miles opposed to doing something like intervals or mile repeats, or half the run at a faster pace and cooling down. So what I'm getting at is getting faster is you might run what you always do and you've been getting faster for a while, but at some point I think you have to push the envelope. You have to go past your natural limit. Meaning, if you can run an 8-minute mile for 10 miles or whatever, but you can't seem to break that, what you should do is do some speed workouts. And so I would spend some time looking into different speed workouts. A really easy example of this is mile repeats. If you have a 5-mile run, you warm up for 2 miles, you run for a mile, recover for a mile, run for another mile. And those repeats that you're doing, they're faster than you're used to, or they're faster than typical. So you can do that with 800 meters. You can do that with 2-mile repeats back to back, right? Like you can do a lot of different there's a lot of different speed workouts you can do. The point is you're going to have to run fast to get fast. So if you are doing this and you're just not getting faster, the other reasons I brought up are probably what you need to focus on. You need to recover. Maybe you need some time off, right? But ultimately, sometimes people just don't run as fast as they should in order to get fast. And so it's kind of a silly concept, but it's the truth. So if you're not doing intervals or those type of speed workouts or repeats, that might be something to look into more, because then you're running 6-minute miles, not as much as you would if you were doing just a normal run, just running as fast as you can for 6 miles. But when you do those mile repeats or the 800-meter repeats or something like that, it's going to help you get faster. So hopefully you got something out of this video. I hope you can get faster. I want to get faster. I'm no stranger to hitting these plateaus, and these are some things that I've had to adjust and adapt to be able to continue to increase my fitness. So if you like running content, that's what this channel is about, and consider subscribing. But if not, I still hope you got something out of this video, and I hope I get to see you in another video sometime soon. Peace.